Kathleen Kennedy, the president of Lucasfilm, recently shared her new vision for Star Wars. She did so during an appearance at the British Film Institute, where she approved of a screening of the original theatrical version of George Lucas's Star Wars film. I wrote this up over at phantompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below. I encourage you to head on over, become a subscriber over there. As I've said, we only are doing about 2 videos here a day over on YouTube, and I'm putting together around 5 to 7 articles every single day. So if you're not a subscriber, you're not heading over to Phantom Pulse, you're missing out on a ton of pop culture news that we're covering. And that's just what I'm covering. Doesn't even include what my co-owner, John Della Rosa, is covering. He's doing between 3 to 5 articles. And then we also have some syndicated and guest posts as well from people like Isaac Young, Brian Niemeyer, with really good, insightful analysis of the pop culture topics of the day. So definitely encourage you to head on over, become a subscriber at Phantom Pulse. With that out of the way, Kennedy, as I said, did this appearance at the British Film Institute. It was covered by the United Kingdom's The Independent, and she had praise for the original Star Wars film. She said, "I would say that this is the film everyone starts with when we start talking about story, George's intent, and what it is we're trying to build off of." So that's actually really positive right there. I'm not sure that's the case. I don't think we saw that in the sequel trilogy whatsoever. I think they pretty much ignored a lot of his themes, a lot of of what he had to say in the original Star Wars film and in the original trilogy. And they were just kind of copying the plot without any of the actual substance, and it didn't work well at all. Obviously, it did well at the box office originally, $2 billion for The Force Awakens, but we saw massive declines after that. Last Jedi only did like 1.3 billion, and I think the Rise of Skywalker only did 1.1. In between Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, Solo: A Star Wars Story didn't even do $500 million. I don't even think it did 400 million. Lost money, first Star Wars film ever to lose money, and we've seen consistent declines across the board since then, right? I mean, looking at the television show ratings, despite Disney Plus having increased subscriber counts, the viewership data has gone down, and we've actually seen them start canceling shows like The Acolyte and Andor. Andor was supposed to be a five seasons. They canceled it after 2, after they shortened it to 2, and then canceled it. And didn't even get to do what they wanted to do in season 2 either, having to scrap a bunch of scripts because it was too expensive. But after she had praise for the original Star Wars film, she then shared that what she's building does not need to connect to the original film. She said, "I really think that now we're in a position where it's broadened the possibility of stories and filmmakers we can bring in to tell stories that mean something to them." So that is her vision, bringing in filmmakers to tell stories that mean something to them, regardless, I guess, of whether they are actually in line with Star Wars, right? And she goes on and says, "It doesn't necessarily have to connect to every little thing that's been done in Star Wars. It can actually be a standalone story that then builds into many, many other stories." So it sounds like they're just going to be creating whatever they want and put a Star Wars skin over top of it. I mean, that's what this sounds like to me. I mean, and that's kind of what they've been doing as well. So it's not really a new vision. She's just kind of repackaging how she's pitching it, I guess, rather than maybe continuing with what Lucas created and having that heart and soul into it. And just to be clear as to what it is, this is some of the great content you can get over at Phantom Pulse. Syndicated this from Brian Niemeyer. This is his discussion on an original review for the Return of the Jedi film, and then it's basically a review of the overarching Star Wars trilogy as well. And this is just a portion of this. I think this is really pertinent because this is why I think Star Wars resonates with so many people, and what Lucasfilm has done is just an abomination to the story. But this Archbishop here wrote this: "The basic plot of the Star Wars series is simple. An evil dictator has conquered a small galaxy and abolished its former pan-galactic democracy. He has proclaimed emperor, and his forces are attempting to destroy the remaining resistance to his rule. While the general battles are fought with standard science fiction weaponry, this is only the superficial part of the story, because the actual battle is being fought in the human conscience and will. Surprisingly, delightfully, the real story is one of the immense struggle between the dark and the good side of that universal nature of which man is a part, the fallen nature of man and the universe. In the movie series, this nature is called the Force. In many reviews, the Force has been interpreted as an unsavory parody of God. After a careful examination of the real plot of the Star Wars series, however, I was led toward the conclusion that the Force is that universal nature, and that the whole theme of the movie and the energies of the plot line are directed at the struggle within the fallen nature between cooperation with the dark side of that nature or with its light side, that law of contradiction, which Apostle Paul speaks of as warring within us and upon which Orthodox monasticism is based. So there's a lot of really good stuff here. He goes on to further examine it, but you can clearly see that that was the core of Star Wars, and I think that is really why these movies resonate so much, why these original movies resonate so much. And as Brian says, it's what they've created is directly inverse to the splendor of the beauty they've defaced, what Kathleen Kennedy and her ilk at Lucasfilm have done. So, it's been absolutely terrible what they've done. And I will say that I think that Jon Favreau tried to recapture some of that. I think he had basic concepts and themes that he was trying to explore that were similar to that in The Mandalorian. I just think he absolutely failed at executing that, or he was hamstrung, and he wasn't able to bring those concepts and ideas to fruition whatsoever. And that show really failed because of that. So I kind of talked about this before. I've talked about this numerous times here. We know that Kathleen Kennedy's vision has been based off of feminism for the most part. She made this very clear going back in 2015. She did this appearance at Fortune Magazine's Most Powerful Women Summit. And she said this: I think the interesting path we've had is the conversation that took place around consumer products, because there are a lot of companies that were in place who frankly didn't initially feel that Star Wars was for girls. She elaborated saying, and when you have a company situation where between Lucasfilm and Disney, we were all looking at this situation saying, no, with Star Wars, we have to change this. We have to make sure that we create products that are, in a sense, appealing to both boys and girls. What's wrong with that? She did go on to give an example. I didn't put it in this article, but that example is literally just creating girls' products. It's not creating products for both boys and girls. So you kind of realize that she's speaking with a forked tongue here. Furthermore, Kennedy shared this: the fact that the company was bought by the Walt Disney Company has been amazing, because they very much support the fact that we are trying to grow in the workforce, a number of women in executive positions, and in all positions inside the company. Again, feminism, identity politics right there. Clearly just trying to target people of a certain sex, which is illegal. Illegal. And with the movies that we are making and with the protagonists that we are putting in the stories, so I get a huge amount of support with that. So clearly pushing that feminist agenda, even in their stories. That's clearly creating propaganda, right? And feminism is in contrast to Christianity. It is, because it's founded in satanic origins, if you look into it. Dr. Carrie, I think her name's Carrie Guess, has some wonderful literature on that, exploring the origins of feminism and how it is connected to the satanic. Anyways, Kennedy went on and said, but we have 50% of our executive team are women, and 6 out of 8 of the people in my story group are women. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that would be surprised that we're making Star Wars movies, and the majority of the people involved in the development of those stories are women. And I think it's making a huge difference in the stories that we're trying to tell. No, I think people found out very quickly what was going on and why Lucasfilm was going down the tubes after they saw The Last Jedi. And as I said, they've been canceling shows based on this vision, right? The Acolyte canceled. Alan Bergman told Vulture. So as it relates to Acolyte, we were happy with our performance, but it wasn't where we needed it to be, given the cost structure of that title, quite frankly, to go and make a season 2. So that's the reason why we didn't do that. Clearly, people weren't tuning in, didn't to pay for the cost. And then you got Andor here. Showrunner Tony Gilroy admitted to Entertainment Weekly that Lucasfilm made significant budget cuts to the show. He said, by the time we got to season 2 and Bob Iger came back, everything had changed and everybody was belt tightening. It's hard to ask for more money when they're laying people off at Disney. And we're like, wow, man. Well, we built half an aircraft carrier. We'd like to finish it. We made as many concessions as we could, but it was still a huge gamble on their part to keep going and still a huge ask. So thank you, Disney, and thank you, Lucasfilm. It was a lot of tough conversations and a lot of anxiety, but really, in the end, they really backed our play. And then, as IndieWire reported, he did this appearance at the ATX Festival, and he said that Lucasfilm and Disney spent $650 million on the 2 seasons of the show. I think that's like $27 million per episode, which is just extraordinary. And he said, I mean, for Disney, this is $650 million for 24 episodes. I never took a note. We said F the Empire in the first season, and they said, can you please not do that? In season 2, they said streaming is dead. We don't have the money we had before, so we fought hard about money, but they never cleaned anything up. That freedom comes with responsibilities. So again, Disney telling him that streaming is dead, just showing you how these projects have not fared well, and the show is canceled after its second season. And of course it is $27 million an episode, clearly not getting any kind of return with the signups on Disney Plus for that show. And he even admitted after the first season, or I guess it was during the first season, that they were chasing the audience, and he thought he was going to have this like built-in Star Wars audience, and he realized that was not the case. And anyone who had been paying attention to Star Wars knew that was not going to be the case, because Lucasfilm had defaced and defiled the great story that is Star Wars. And it looks like they're going to continue to do that. Kathleen Kennedy here basically saying that they're just going to get people to come in, tell whatever story they want to tell, and put a Star Wars skin suit over top of it. And they're going to continue to fail. They're going to continue to fail because they're going to bring in people who are creating things that are in contrast to what the original Star Wars story was and still is. And George Lucas has made comments on this as well too. A couple of years ago, he said something to the effect like, the originals are still mine, the first 6, etc. But whatever they're doing now has nothing to do with what I made. So he has even said that in, I think, a couple of different press appearances or just public appearances when he's actually, I think, talked about it. But let me know what you guys make of this. This is just doubling down, tripling down, whatever we're at, quadrupling down, quintupling down, probably way past even that. And I just don't see this franchise having any kind of rekindling with the current crop of creatives there, because we've seen what they do. They do indeed try to bring it down. And then even when you do, I think, have someone like Jon Favreau, who has, I think, decent concepts and themes and is trying to actually connect it back to George's original stories, he gets hamstrung within whatever kind of corporate strings that are attached to him, and the execution doesn't come off well for whatever reason, whatever the causes are. It just is not executed very well. There is something just kind of off about it, whether that be in how the stories are told. It's just it doesn't come across as genuine and as true as what you get in those original movies and how pure they are. But let me know what you guys make of this. What do you make of what Kathleen Kennedy had to say here? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.
Why would you be afraid of the people? Why are you not afraid of God instead of man?